The blizzard had been raging for 3 days when Captain Marcus Chen first noticed the anomaly on his scanner. The research vessel Endurance had been trapped in the ice fields of Kepler 442b for nearly a week, its engines frozen solid despite the ship's advanced heating systems. The planet's surface temperature had dropped to minus 60 degrees Celsius, far below what their instruments had predicted. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez called from her station. Her breath formed small clouds in the increasingly cold bridge. "There's a heat signature about 2 kilometers northeast of our position. It's faint, but it's definitely there." Marcus walked over to her console, his boots crunching on the frost that had begun forming on the deck plating. The ship's heating systems were failing one by one, and they all knew they had maybe 12 hours before the cold became lethal. The rescue ship wasn't due for another 4 days. "Could be a thermal vent," he said, studying the readings, "or maybe some kind of geothermal activity." "No, sir," Rodriguez shook her head. "The signature is too regular, too controlled. It's almost like—" She paused, adjusting the sensors. "Like it's artificial." The bridge fell silent except for the howling wind outside. They were supposedly the first humans to set foot on this planet. The initial surveys had shown no signs of intelligent life, just primitive plant organisms and some basic bacterial colonies. The planet was being considered for terraforming, which was why their small research team had been sent to conduct detailed environmental studies. "Dr. Patel," Marcus called to the ship's xenobiologist, who was hunched over another console trying to keep the environmental systems running. "What do you make of this?" Dr. Raj Patel looked up from his work, his dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of the failing displays. "If there's an artificial heat source out there, it could mean we're not alone on this planet. But that's impossible. Our orbital scans were thorough." Engineering Chief Torres, a stocky woman with graying hair, looked up from where she was working on a heating unit. "Captain, with respect, impossible or not, we need that heat source. We're losing power fast, and the backup generators won't last much longer in this cold. If there's warmth out there, we need to investigate." Marcus nodded grimly. She was right. They were running out of options. "How long until we can get the rover operational?" "Give me an hour," Torres replied. "I can reroute power from non-essential systems and get the heating working well enough for a short journey." "Do it." Marcus turned to Rodriguez. "Keep monitoring that heat signature. If it moves or changes, I want to know immediately." As Torres worked on the rover, Marcus found himself staring out the bridge's main viewport at the endless white expanse. The storm was beginning to subside, but the snow continued to fall in thick, heavy flakes. Somewhere out there in that frozen wasteland was their only hope of survival. An hour later, Marcus, Dr. Patel, and Torres were suited up in their heaviest environmental gear, preparing to venture out in the rover. The small vehicle looked almost comically inadequate against the massive drifts that had built up around their ship, but it was their only option. "Remember," Marcus said over the comm as they climbed into the rover, "we're looking for any sign of what's generating that heat. Could be natural, could be artificial. Either way, we document everything." The rover's tracks struggled for purchase in the deep snow as they began their journey toward the heat signature. The wind had died down, leaving an eerie silence broken only by the electric whine of their vehicle's motors. Through the rover's reinforced windows, they could see nothing but endless white in every direction. "Heat signature is getting stronger," Torres reported, checking her handheld scanner. "We're definitely heading in the right direction." They had been traveling for about 30 minutes when Dr. Patel suddenly grabbed Marcus's arm. "Stop the rover," he said urgently. Marcus brought the vehicle to a halt. "What is it?" "Look." Patel pointed ahead and slightly to their right. "That snowdrift. Look at the shape." Marcus followed his gaze and felt his heart skip a beat. What he had initially taken for a natural formation was clearly artificial. The snow had been piled and shaped, creating what looked almost like a shelter or dwelling. It was partially collapsed, but the intentional construction was unmistakable. "That's not natural," Torres whispered. They approached the structure carefully. Up close, it was even more obviously constructed. The snow had been compressed and shaped with tools, creating walls and what appeared to be a doorway that was now mostly blocked by fresh snowfall. "The heat signature is coming from inside," Torres confirmed, checking her scanner again. Marcus made the decision. "We investigate, but we go in armed and ready for anything." They parked the rover as close to the structure as possible and prepared to exit. The cold hit them like a physical blow even through their environmental suits. The temperature readings on their displays showed minus 70 degrees Celsius. "Move fast," Marcus ordered. "We can't survive long in this." They approached the snow shelter's entrance, which required them to dig through several feet of accumulated snow. As they worked, Marcus couldn't help but wonder who or what had built this structure and why. Finally, they cleared enough snow to reveal an opening just large enough for a person to crawl through. Marcus went first, his suit's lights illuminating the interior of the shelter. What he saw made him stop dead in his tracks. The inside of the shelter was much larger than it had appeared from outside, carved out of the snow and ice with remarkable skill. But that wasn't what made Marcus's breath catch in his throat. It was the figure huddled in the center of the space. It was clearly alien but humanoid in shape, about the size of a human child, with pale blue skin that seemed almost translucent. It was unconscious, possibly near death, and wearing what appeared to be some kind of form-fitting garment that looked like it was made from a material Marcus didn't recognize. "My God," Dr. Patel breathed as he crawled in behind Marcus. "Is it alive?" Torres squeezed in behind them, her scanner immediately picking up readings. "Barely. Core temperature is dropping fast. Whatever it is, it's dying of hypothermia." Marcus stared at the alien being. This changed everything. They weren't alone on this planet, and this creature was clearly intelligent enough to construct shelter. But more immediately, it was dying, and something in Marcus's gut told him that saving it was the right thing to do. "We need to get it back to the ship," he said. "Captain," Torres warned, "we don't know anything about this being. It could be dangerous, could carry diseases." "Look at it," Marcus interrupted. "Does it look dangerous to you? It's dying, and we're the only ones who can help." Dr. Patel was already moving closer to the alien, his medical scanner out. "Captain's right. This being is in critical condition. Whatever else we decide, we need to act now if we want to save its life." Marcus made the decision that would change everything. "We take it with us." They carefully lifted the unconscious alien, surprised by how light it was. Its skin was cold to the touch even through their gloves, and Marcus could see that its breathing was shallow and irregular. The journey back to the rover was tense. The alien remained unconscious, but Marcus thought he could detect the faintest signs of life. They secured it as best they could in the rover's cargo area, wrapping it in emergency thermal blankets. "Heat signature is still present in the shelter," Torres reported as they prepared to leave. "There might be some kind of heating device in there." "We'll come back for it," Marcus decided. "Right now, getting this being medical attention is our priority." The trip back to the Endurance felt endless. Marcus found himself constantly checking on their passenger, looking for any signs that its condition was improving or worsening. The alien remained still and silent, its pale blue skin taking on an almost gray tinge that Marcus didn't like. When they finally reached their ship, the real work began. They carried the alien to the medical bay, where Dr. Patel immediately began running scans and assessments. The being's physiology was unlike anything in their databases, but there were enough similarities to human biology that Patel felt confident he could at least stabilize it. "Body temperature is dangerously low," he reported as he worked. "But it's breathing. And I'm detecting what appears to be a heartbeat, though the rhythm is different from anything I've seen. Will it survive? Marcus asked. I don't know, Patel admitted, but we're going to do everything we can. As Dr. Patel worked to save the alien's life, Marcus found himself thinking about the implications of their discovery. First contact with an intelligent alien species was supposed to follow strict protocols, involve teams of specialists, and happen under controlled conditions. Instead, they were performing emergency medicine on a dying alien in the middle of a crisis situation. Captain, Rodriguez's voice crackled over the intercom from the bridge. You need to see this. I'm picking up more heat signatures, multiple ones, and they're moving. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. Moving how? Toward our position. Captain, I think we just rescued one of their people and now the others are coming for us. Marcus looked down at the unconscious alien on the medical table. Its breathing seemed a little stronger now, and some color was returning to its skin. They had made a choice to save a life, but now they might all pay the price for that decision. How long until they reach us? He asked. At their current pace, maybe 2 hours. Marcus made another decision, one that would define not just their mission, but potentially the future relationship between their species. We keep working to save our patient. When the others arrive, we meet them openly and honestly. We show them that we helped their people. And if they're hostile? Torres asked. Marcus looked around at his small crew, then back at the alien they were fighting to save. Then we hope that saving a life counts for something, no matter what species you are. The next 2 hours would test everything they believed about first contact, survival, and what it meant to be human in a universe that was far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined. Outside, the storm continued to rage, and somewhere in that frozen wilderness, an unknown number of alien beings were making their way toward the ship that held one of their own. The real test was just beginning. Dr. Patel had been working for nearly an hour when the alien's eyes suddenly opened. They were large, almost luminous, with irises that shifted between silver and pale blue. The being tried to sit up, then immediately collapsed back onto the medical table, its breathing rapid and panicked. Easy, easy, Patel said softly. His hands raised in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. You're safe. We're trying to help you. The alien's gaze darted around the medical bay, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings and the strange creatures surrounding it. When its eyes met Marcus's, there was a moment of pure terror, followed by something that looked almost like resignation. Can you understand us? Marcus asked gently, stepping closer to the table. The alien made a sound, a series of soft clicks and whistles that were clearly meant to be communication. When the humans didn't respond, it tried again, this time with different sounds. Finally, it raised one thin hand and pointed weakly at itself. I think it's trying to tell us its name, Dr. Patel observed. The alien repeated the gesture, pointing at itself and making the same sound. It was a soft, musical noise that sounded something like, Kira. Kira? Marcus repeated, and the alien's eyes widened in what might have been surprise or recognition. Before they could attempt any further communication, Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom again. Captain, the other heat signatures have stopped about 1 kilometer away from our position. They're just waiting. Marcus exchanged glances with his crew. Waiting for what? Unknown, sir. But there are definitely multiple beings out there. I count at least 6 distinct heat signatures. The alien on the medical table had been listening to this exchange, and now it was trying to sit up again. This time, Dr. Patel helped support it, and the being managed to stay upright, though it was clearly still very weak. Kira pointed toward the direction where Rodriguez had detected the other aliens, then made a series of gestures that seemed urgent. It was trying to communicate something important, but the language barrier was making it impossible. "I think it wants to contact the others," Torres said. "Maybe let them know it's alive and safe." Marcus nodded. "Rodriguez, can you open a comm channel on all frequencies? Wide broadcast." "Yes, sir. Channel open." Marcus looked at Kira, then gestured toward the communication console. The alien understood immediately, sliding carefully off the medical table with Dr. Patel's help and moving slowly toward the comm system. When Kira spoke into the microphone, its voice was stronger than before, though still weak. The sounds it made were musical, complex, and completely unlike any human language. The alien spoke for nearly a minute, pausing occasionally as if listening for a response. Finally, a reply came through the speakers. Multiple voices, all speaking in the same musical language, and all clearly expressing relief and concern. Kira's response was immediate, and Marcus could hear what sounded like reassurance in its tone. The conversation continued for several minutes before Kira turned back to the humans. It pointed at Marcus, then at itself, then made a gesture toward the ship's exit. The meaning was clear. It wanted Marcus to come with it to meet the others. "Absolutely not," Torres said immediately. "Captain, we don't know anything about these beings. This could be a trap." "Or," Dr. Patel countered, "this could be our only chance for peaceful first contact. We saved one of them." "That has to count for something." Marcus studied Kira's face. The alien's large eyes were focused on him with an intensity that was almost human-like. There was intelligence there, and something else. Gratitude, maybe, or hope. "I'm going," Marcus decided. "Sir, I must protest," noted Torres. "But this is bigger than just our survival now. We're potentially making first contact with an intelligent alien species. The decisions we make in the next few hours could affect the relationship between our peoples for generations." Marcus turned to Dr. Patel. "Is Kira strong enough for the trip?" "I don't recommend it," Patel said. "But if we bundle it up properly and keep the journey short, it might be okay. Its core temperature has stabilized, but it's still very weak." "Then we do this carefully." Marcus activated the ship-wide intercom. "All hands, this is the captain. We're about to make contact with an alien species. I want everyone to remain calm and follow standard first contact protocols. No sudden movements, no weapons visible, and absolutely no hostile actions unless I specifically order them." They spent the next 30 minutes preparing for what might be the most important meeting in human history. Kira was bundled in thermal blankets and helped into one of the rover's passenger seats. Marcus, Dr. Patel, and Torres suited up once again, their breath forming clouds in the increasingly cold air of the ship. The journey to the meeting point was tense. Marcus could see the other aliens long before they reached them. 6 figures stood in a rough semicircle in the snow, each one wrapped in what appeared to be the same type of garment that Kira wore. They made no aggressive moves as the rover approached, but Marcus could sense their wariness. When they stopped about 20 meters away from the alien group, Marcus took a deep breath. "This is it," he said. They helped Kira out of the rover, and the alien immediately called out to its companions. The response was immediate and emotional. Several of the aliens stepped forward, their musical voices expressing what was clearly relief and joy. One alien, slightly taller than the others and wearing what looked like additional ornamental pieces on its garment, approached slowly. It looked at Kira, then at the humans, and finally spoke directly to Marcus. Marcus couldn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable. This being was thanking him. Kira stepped forward and began what was clearly an explanation of what had happened. It pointed at the humans, made gestures indicating cold and danger, then pointed at itself and made what looked like a gesture of gratitude. The leader alien listened carefully, then approached Marcus. It was almost the same height as a human, with the same pale blue skin and large eyes as Kira. When it reached Marcus, it did something unexpected. It placed both of its hands over its heart, then extended them toward Marcus in what was clearly a gesture of respect and thanks. Marcus instinctively responded in kind, placing his hands over his own heart and then extending them toward the alien leader. The gesture seemed to have a profound effect on all the aliens present. Several of them made soft sounds that Marcus interpreted as approval. What happened next surprised everyone. The alien leader began to speak, but this time, some of the words were recognizably human, broken, heavily accented, but unmistakably English. "Thank you," the leader said carefully. "You save Kira." Marcus felt his jaw drop. "You speak our language?" The leader tilted its head in what might have been the alien equivalent of a nod. "Little. We watch. Listen. Your ship. We know you come. You've been watching us?" Dr. Patel stepped forward, his scientist's curiosity overriding his caution. "Long time. Many days. You no harm. Planet. You no harm. Animals. We think maybe you good people." Marcus realized they were having a conversation with an alien species, and his heart was racing. "Are there more of you? Others of your people?" The leader made a gesture that encompassed the group around them. "We are. Village. Small group. Live here long time. Planet is home." "We didn't know," Marcus said earnestly. "Our scans showed no intelligent life. We thought the planet was uninhabited." "We hide," the leader explained. "Many bad people come to planets, take, destroy, kill. We learn to hide from skywatchers." The implications of this hit Marcus like a physical blow. How many other planets had humanity surveyed and deemed uninhabited when there were actually intelligent species living there, hiding from detection? "We're not here to take or destroy," Marcus said. "We're scientists. We study planets to understand them." The leader studied him for a long moment. "You save Kira when you know have to, when danger to you. This tells us maybe you different." Kira spoke up, addressing its leader in their musical language. The conversation that followed was lengthy and animated, with several other aliens joining in. Finally, the leader turned back to Marcus. "Kira says you give heat when Kira cold. You give medicine when Kira sick. You risk danger to bring Kira to family." The leader paused, seeming to search for words. "This is good thing. Shows good heart." "Any decent person would have done the same," Marcus replied. "No," the leader said firmly. "Not true. Many people see danger, they run. They think only of self. You think of life that is not your people. This is special." Torres stepped forward. "Sir, we should probably head back soon. The storm is picking up again, and our power situation hasn't improved." The alien leader heard this and immediately became animated, speaking rapidly to the other aliens. After a brief discussion, the leader turned back to Marcus. "You have power problems? Heat problems?" "Yes," Marcus admitted. "Our ship's heating systems are failing. We have maybe a few more hours before the cold becomes dangerous for us." The leader made what looked like a decision. "You come. We show you warm place. Help you fix ship." Marcus hesitated. Accepting help from the aliens would be another major step in first contact, but they were rapidly running out of alternatives. "You helped Kira," the leader continued. "Now we help you. Is right thing." Dr. Patel moved closer to Marcus. "Captain, our options are limited. If they can provide shelter and help with the heating systems, it might be our only chance." Marcus looked around at the alien group. They had stepped closer now, and he could see that despite their alien features, there was something unmistakably compassionate about their expressions. These beings understood the concept of mutual aid, of helping those in need. "All right," Marcus decided. "We accept your help." The journey to the alien settlement was unlike anything Marcus had ever experienced. The aliens led them across the frozen landscape to what appeared to be just another snow-covered hillside. But as they approached, Marcus could see that the hill was actually artificial, a carefully constructed mound that concealed something much larger underneath. The entrance was well hidden, a narrow passage that led down into the hill. Inside, Marcus found himself in a network of tunnels and chambers that had been carved out of the ice and reinforced with what looked like some kind of organic material. But most importantly, it was warm. Blissfully, wonderfully warm. "How?" Dr. Patel breathed, immediately pulling out his scanner to take readings. The alien leader led them deeper into the complex, to a large central chamber where the source of the heat became apparent. In the center of the room was what could only be described as a living furnace. It was organic, plant-like, but clearly engineered or bred for this specific purpose. It radiated warmth and seemed to respond to the alien's touch and voice. "Heat maker," the leader explained simply. "We grow them. They eat snow, ice, make warmth." Marcus stared at the biological heating system in amazement. This was technology beyond anything humanity had developed, but it was so elegantly simple that it was almost beautiful. "Can you help us fix our ship's heating?" he asked. The leader nodded confidently. "We help. But first, you tell us true. Why you really here? What you want with planet?" Marcus knew this was the moment of truth. The answer he gave would determine not just their immediate survival, but potentially the future relationship between their species. He chose honesty. "We're explorers," he said. "My people are looking for new worlds where we might be able to live someday. We thought this planet was empty, that we weren't taking anything from anyone." The leader listened carefully, then nodded slowly. "And now? You know we hear. What you do?" Marcus looked around at the warm, welcoming space the aliens had shared with them, at Kira, who was now being tended to by what were obviously family members, and at the leader who was offering help to strangers who could have been enemies. "Now we do what's right," Marcus said. "We tell our people that this planet is inhabited by an intelligent species. We make sure it's protected. And if you're willing, maybe we try to learn from each other." The alien leader was quiet for a long moment. Finally, it extended its hand in what Marcus now recognized as their gesture of respect. "Good answer," the leader said. "Now we save your ship, and you save our world." The next several hours changed everything Marcus thought he knew about survival, technology, and what it meant to be part of a galactic community. The alien settlement was far more advanced than he had initially realized. What he had taken for simple ice caves were actually sophisticated structures built using bioengineering that humanity was centuries away from developing. The aliens, who called themselves the Thorali, had been living on this planet for thousands of years, adapting their technology to work with the harsh environment rather than against it. The leader, who introduced himself as Elder Sova, led Marcus and his team through the settlement's various chambers. Each one served a specific purpose: food cultivation, water processing, tool creation, and most impressively, a workshop where the Thorali grew their technology. "Everything alive here," Sova explained as he showed them a room where various organic tools were being cultivated in ice-filled growing beds. "We no take from planet. We work with planet." Dr. Patel was practically vibrating with excitement as he took readings and made observations. "Captain, this is revolutionary. They're not just using biotechnology, they're thinking about it in a completely different way. Instead of imposing their will on their environment, they're partnering with it." Torres was more practical in her focus. "How quickly can we get some of these heat makers to the ship?" "Soon," Sova assured her. "But first, we must prepare them properly. Heat makers are living things. They need care, understanding." While the Thorali began preparing small heat makers that could be transported to the Endurance, Marcus found himself in deep conversation with Sova and several other elders. What he learned challenged everything he thought he knew about planetary colonization and first contact. "You say your people look for worlds to live on," Sova said, settling into what appeared to be a grown chair that adjusted itself to his body. "But you look with machines from sky. See people who hide." "We've been looking for uninhabited worlds," Marcus explained. "We thought that was the ethical approach." An elder named Nira, who appeared to be even older than Sova, made a sound that might have been laughter. "Nothing uninhabited. Life everywhere, just different kinds. Some you see easy, some you no see until you look right way." "Are you saying we've been establishing colonies on inhabited worlds?" Marcus asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Maybe," Sova said diplomatically. "But also maybe some worlds really empty or some worlds people want to share. Problem is, ask. You just look from sky and decide." Dr. Patel leaned forward. "So how should we do it? How should humans approach new worlds?" "You do what you do here," Nira said simply. "You come down, you look with eyes. You listen with ears, you feel with heart. If people there, you talk, you ask. Maybe they say no, maybe they say yes, maybe they say yes, but only here, or yes, but not there." "And if we had done that here first?" Marcus asked. Sova considered this. "We probably hide at first, watch you, learn about you. But when storm come, when you in danger," he gestured toward where Kira was resting. "When you save our person, we know your heart. Then we help." It was a profound lesson in patience and respect that Marcus knew his own species often lacked. Humans tended to be aggressive explorers, eager to claim and colonize. The Thorali approach was more subtle, more careful, and ultimately more sustainable. A younger Thorali entered the chamber and spoke rapidly to Sova in their musical language. Sova nodded and turned to Marcus. "Heatmakers ready. We go to your ship now." The journey back to the Endurance was like a small parade. 8 Thorali accompanied the humans, carrying various pieces of their biotechnology. The Heatmakers were contained in special carriers that looked grown rather than built, and several Thorali brought tools and supplies for installing and caring for the living heating systems. When they reached the ship, Marcus was shocked to see how much ice had accumulated on the hull. The Endurance looked more like an ice sculpture than a spacecraft. "Your ship very cold," observed one of the Thorali, a young female named Zara, who seemed to be their equivalent of an engineer. "Metal no good for cold like this?" "No," Torres agreed ruefully. "Our heating systems weren't designed for this level of extreme cold." "We fix," Zara said confidently. "But you must understand, heatmakers need care. They live, they die, they need food and attention." The process of installing the heatmakers was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. The Thorali didn't just place the organisms in the ship's heating ducts, they carefully integrated them with the existing systems, creating a hybrid biological-technological heating network that was far more efficient than either system alone. "You see," Zara explained as she worked, guiding a vine-like heatmaker through the ship's ventilation system, "your machines work too hard. They fight cold, try to overpower it. Heatmakers work smart. They find where cold comes from, they block it, they create warm bubbles. They work with ship's heat instead of replacing it." Within 2 hours, the temperature inside the Endurance had risen to comfortable levels, and the power drain on the ship's systems had dropped dramatically. "This is incredible," Dr. Patel marveled, watching his readings. "We're using 60% less power than before, but the ship is warmer than it's been since we landed." Rodriguez looked up from her communications console with excitement. "Captain, I'm picking up the rescue ship. They're still 3 days out, but I can reach them now." Marcus nodded, but found himself reluctant to make the call. Once he contacted Earth, everything would change. There would be protocols, investigations, diplomatic missions, and probably a lot of people who would want to exploit what they had learned here. Sova seemed to sense his hesitation. You worry about your people's reaction? Yes, Marcus admitted. Not everyone in my species thinks the way my crew and I do. Some will see your people and your technology as something to be taken advantage of. And some will see us as partners, Nira added gently. You cannot control all your people, just as we cannot control all ours. But you can speak truth, and truth has power. Marcus made his decision. He activated the long-range communicator and sent a priority message to Earth Command. This is Captain Marcus Chen of the research vessel Endurance. I am transmitting from Kepler 442b with a Code 7 situation. Code 7 was the designation for first contact with an intelligent species. We have made contact with an indigenous intelligent species called the Thorali. They are peaceful and have assisted us during an environmental emergency, requesting immediate diplomatic contact and recommending priority protection status for this world. He attached his preliminary report and all of Dr. Patel's scientific data to the transmission, then sent it on its way. It would take several hours to reach Earth, and the response would take just as long to come back. It is done, he told the Thorali. My people now know about yours. Good, Sova said. Now we wait and see what kind of people your people truly are. The next 3 days passed quickly. The Thorali remained with the humans, sharing their knowledge and learning about human technology in return. Dr. Patel filled multiple data storage devices with biological and technological information, while the Thorali showed intense interest in human medical knowledge and engineering techniques. Kira, who had recovered fully from the hypothermia, turned out to be something like a young scientist among the Thorali. She was fascinated by the human ship and spent hours with Torres, learning about human engineering while teaching the chief about Thorali biotechnology. Your people think very different from us, Kira observed on the second day, her English improving rapidly. You make things that are dead, but work like alive. We make things that are alive and work like machines. Maybe together we make things that are better than both. On the morning of the third day, Rodriguez picked up the rescue ship on her scanners. The Resilience was a larger vessel, designed for emergency evacuations and equipped with more powerful heating systems. But it also carried a diplomatic team and, Marcus suspected, some people who might not share his approach to first contact. Captain, Rodriguez reported, the Resilience is requesting permission to land. They're also asking for detailed information about the indigenous population. Marcus exchanged glances with Sova. This was the moment of truth. Tell them permission granted for landing, but they are to make no contact with the Thorali without my direct authorization. This is still my mission until I'm officially relieved. When the Resilience touched down near the Endurance, Marcus was waiting for them with his full crew and Sova. It was important that the first thing the newcomers saw was humans and Thorali standing together as equals. The airlock opened, and out stepped Commander Sarah Williams, whom Marcus knew by reputation as a competent but by-the-book officer. Behind her came Dr. Elizabeth Harper from the Xenobiology Institute, and to Marcus's dismay, Corporate Representative James Morrison from Stellar Resources Corporation. Williams approached Marcus with a formal bearing. Captain Chen, I'm here to oversee the extraction of your team and to begin formal first contact protocols with the indigenous species. Understood, Commander, Marcus replied. I'd like you to meet Elder Sova of the Thorali people. Sova, this is Commander Williams. Sova stepped forward and performed the heart gesture of respect. Williams, to her credit, recognized it as a greeting and attempted to return it, though somewhat awkwardly. Elder Sova, Williams said formally, on behalf of the Earth Alliance, I greet you and your people. Welcome to our world, Sova replied in careful English. We hope for friendship between our peoples. Morrison stepped forward, his eyes already calculating. Elder, I'm James Morrison. I represent some very interested parties back on Earth. We're very excited about the potential for technological exchange between our species. Marcus felt his stomach clench, but Sova merely nodded politely. We also interested in learning. But first, we must know your people's intentions. You come as friends or as takers? Well, obviously we come as friends, Morrison said with the kind of smile that Marcus had learned not to trust. We're hoping for a mutually beneficial relationship. Dr. Harper stepped forward, her scientific enthusiasm evident. Elder Sova, would it be possible to see some examples of your biotechnology? What we've heard from Captain Chen's team is absolutely fascinating. Of course, Sova agreed. You are welcome in our settlement. But you must understand, our technology is not things you can take. They are living beings that must be cared for and respected. Morrison's expression flickered for just a moment, but he recovered quickly. Naturally, we completely understand the need to respect your biological assets. The way he said biological assets made Marcus's blood run cold. He caught Sova's eye and saw that the elder had noticed it too. The tour of the Therali settlement was eye-opening for the newcomers. Dr. Harper was genuinely amazed by the biological engineering, asking detailed questions about cultivation, care, and the underlying science. Williams maintained her professional demeanor, but Marcus could see she was impressed by the sophistication of the Therali civilization. Morrison, however, was clearly calculating value and extraction possibilities. Marcus watched him take detailed scans of everything he could, despite Sova's clear explanation that the organisms would not survive away from their carefully balanced ecosystem. That evening, as the expanded human team prepared for departure, Marcus found himself in private conversation with Williams. Commander, I need to be clear about something. The Therali saved our lives, and they did it because we proved ourselves trustworthy by saving one of theirs first. They're not primitive, they're not helpless, and they're not resources to be exploited. Williams nodded thoughtfully. I've seen enough today to understand that. Captain, the diplomatic team will be instructed to approach this as a contact between equals. And Morrison? Williams's expression hardened slightly. Mr. Morrison represents certain interests that will need to be managed. Your report has already caused quite a stir back on Earth. There will be pressure to gain access to Therali biotechnology. Then it's a good thing the Therali have had thousands of years to perfect the art of staying hidden when they need to, Marcus said pointedly. The next morning, as both human ships prepared for departure, Sova approached Marcus for a private conversation. Your people will come back, Sova said. It wasn't a question. Yes, some will come as friends, some as scientists, and some... Marcus paused. Some will come with less noble intentions. We know. We have dealt with such people before, from other worlds. We will be ready. Marcus was curious about that comment, but before he could ask, Sova continued. But you and your crew, you are welcome here always. You understand that some things more important than taking. You understand that helping others, even when it costs you, is what makes people truly strong. We learned as much from you as you did from us, Marcus replied. Good. Then maybe there is hope for your species after all. As the ships lifted off from the frozen surface of Kepler 442b, Marcus looked down at the planet that had changed his understanding of first contact, survival, and what it meant to be human. Down there, hidden beneath the snow and ice, was a civilization that had survived and thrived by working with their environment rather than conquering it, and by choosing cooperation over competition. The rescue had been successful, but Marcus knew it was really just the beginning. The real test would be whether humanity could prove itself worthy of the trust the Therali had placed in them. 6 months later, Marcus received a message on a secured channel. It was from Dr. Patel, who had returned to Kepler 442b as part of the official diplomatic mission. "Captain," the message began, "you'll be pleased to know that the Thorali settlement has mysteriously vanished from its previous location. Orbital scans show no trace of intelligent life, and the corporate survey teams have found nothing but ice and primitive bacterial life." Marcus smiled. The Thorali had gone back into hiding, at least until humanity could prove itself capable of true partnership rather than exploitation. "However," the message continued, "if you ever decide to visit the planet again, I've been told that certain snow formations in the northern region might prove very interesting to explore, especially if you happen to be someone who once showed that saving a life is more important than personal safety." Marcus saved the message and began looking into requesting another assignment to the Kepler system. He had a feeling that the relationship between humans and Thorali was just beginning, and he wanted to be part of writing that story. After all, as Sova had said, helping others even when it costs you is what makes people truly strong. And Marcus had learned that strength like that was worth any risk. The snow had hidden her, but their warmth had saved her life. And in saving her, they had saved something in themselves that Marcus hoped would guide humanity toward a better future among the stars.